Continue right now in your Google Classroom. We're going to take a look today first at this warm-up activity. We mentioned the other day about the themes in Shakespeare's writing, and then we took a look in the last couple of days at two contemporary poems, and we analyzed them for their themes. And now we're going to take a look at this warm-up exercise. So, first of all, I want you to describe what a love-hate relationship is. And then you put your answer on the bottom here, the yellow sticky note. I want you to describe what betrayal is to you. And put your answer on the green sticky note. And then finally, I want you to find out how can power be good? How can power be bad? And then put your answer here on the blue sticky note. I'm going to put 4 minutes on the timer, and then we'll go ahead and around share some answers, and we will get to the main lesson in a few moments. Okay, now back from the warm-up exercise. And so right now you're going to go into your stream. Click where it says the advances of the Renaissance. Okay, so I want you to click on that right now, and you're going to see you have some uploads right here. The essential question in this section: how did innovations of the Renaissance influence the development of Western society? And by the way, I want you to understand that when people say Western society, they're not just talking about Europe, but Western society also includes the Western Hemisphere where we live. Okay, so how did the innovations of the Renaissance influence the development of Western society, including our society? Okay, and so you have these uploads. All right, so go ahead and click on the first upload. And we're going to talk today about advances of the Renaissance, including in art, like we mentioned, the printing press, and then some advances that started in the Renaissance, the ideas did, and how we turned them for our usage in modern times. And so, first of all, again, if you need to click, so click on the zoom in feature. I need a big zoom in, big, huge zoom in. Okay. And so this is the advances in the arts. And we have mentioned before what areas Renaissance figures made achievements in painting, sculpture, architecture, engineering, and writing. So we had talked about some of those aspects before. Renaissance artists broke from the past in several key ways. During the Middle Ages, art and literature often dealt with religious matters. Renaissance artists focused on portraying humans in realistic ways. That's the humanism. In addition, Renaissance writers and painters experimented with new styles and techniques that resulted in unique works. Many of these works are still celebrated today for their beauty and realism. Okay, so the new technique that we mentioned. Renaissance artists continued to portray many religious subjects, but these subjects were shown in a more realistic manner. And to accomplish this, Renaissance artists moved away from the flat, two-dimensional style of painting characterized medieval art. Instead, they used a technique known as perspective. This technique produced the appearance of 3 dimensions in a work of art. So take a look then at the bottom, and we mentioned perspective before. Okay, so take a look. This is by Raphael, The Marriage of the Virgin. Okay, by Raphael. And to create perspective, artists run parallel lines away from the viewer until they appear to meet at a spot on the horizon called the vanishing point. Okay, so as you can see, the vanishing point is pretty much in here, in this doorway. Okay, and that's where all of these lines then emanate from. So it looks like that there's stuff going on in the background. Look, there's people in the background. There's stuff going on. There's hills back here. Okay, and that gave it a much more realistic look. And people in the foreground, right? They have the stuff in the foreground is bigger than what's in the background. Okay, and that creates a sense of 3 dimensions on a 2-dimensional canvas. And so right now we're going to take a look at a portion of this video, because tomorrow we're going to get started with our look at perspective drawing using 2 vanishing points. Yes, it's a little trickier. We're going to see a portion of this video so you can kind of get a minor understanding, and then we will get to the rest of today's information in a few moments. Okay, now back from the video. So go ahead and click on the right arrow, and that'll get you to the next page again. Big zoom, big, huge, huge zoom. Okay, and then this section talks about the printing press. Okay, and so Take a look at the right column. A person could copy a single book in about 5 months. Okay, so that was the work of the monks, and they were recopying the Bible. But in 5 months, you got one new copy. How many people can that go to? Or maybe one family might be able to get the Bible in 5 months. So that means in about a year, that's only about 2 Bibles. Okay, however, a printing press could produce 500 books in the same amount of time. So that's about 100 books a month. So now that's 100 families, right? For instance, getting a Bible. That's why the original one was called the Gutenberg Bible. Okay, but other things happen too. Other books, other pamphlets, and we're going to see the importance of this when it comes to the Protestant Reformation and how the information went out faster to more people because of the printing press. Okay, so let's see. In the section that says printing press, I'm going to take a look real quick at this section. Now, Renaissance Europe saw many technological advances as well. The most significant technological advance was the invention of the printing press. This invention built on the earlier Chinese technology known as woodblock printing. Under this technique, a printer carved a word or a letter on a wooden block. The printer then rolled ink on the block and used it to print on paper. During the mid-1400s, a German named Johann Gutenberg used movable type to invent a printing press. The printing press was a machine that pressed paper against a full tray of inked movable type. Gutenberg used his machine to print a complete version of the Bible in 1455. The book became known as the Gutenberg Bible. Okay? And so we mentioned that the impact of the printing press, it was a huge impact on European society. Okay? Because you would only be able to print one book in about 5 months. Now you can print a ton of books in those 5 months. And then never mind the fact that later on we saw in that a previous map that there were now thousands of printers all around Europe, and so they're creating 500 books in 5 months in 2,000 or so places. So now the word can spread huge time. Okay, and so for back then, that was a big deal, a very big deal. Let's take a look then at this video on Gutenberg printing press. Well, is that boxing gloves? What's going on here? But let's see how the Gutenberg printing press works, and then we'll get back with the rest of today's information in a few moments. Okay, now back from the video. So now go ahead and click on the right arrow again. I'm going to take a look at some of the Renaissance advances that influence us directly in modern times. So again, big, huge zoom. I need big. Okay, so Renaissance advances, we'll go to the top of the page here. And to learn about, this is the purpose, to learn about the scientific and technological advances of the Renaissance. That goes back to our essential question for this section. The new ways of thinking that helped drive the Renaissance touched not only the arts. As you have read, Leonardo da Vinci made advances in a variety of fields. The work of da Vinci and other Renaissance thinkers helped to pave the way for continued progress in a number of scientific and technological areas. So, let's take a look then. Cartography or map making became more scientific during the Renaissance. Now, this map of 1489 shows how Europeans began understanding more about the world around them. So take a look then. Take a look at this map. Look at this. This is what the known world was at this time. Okay? This is what was thought to have been understood about the world this time. So here's Spain, right here, right? And then right below Spain is Africa. So look at how Africa is drawn. Okay, and that's what was understood. Now here's the Middle East, right? Saudi Arabia, Arab Mecca. This is big Russia right here. China, India, okay? And then Southeast Asia right here. This is what was thought. Okay, so never mind. And this is a map from 1489. So never mind that 3 years later then, again, during the time of the Renaissance, you have Christopher Columbus then sailing this way, sailing to the west to find a new continent, okay, that was unknown in Europe. However, the Native Americans that were here for thousands of years, they already knew about this continent. And then in the present, the global positioning system can tell drivers their exact location. And these devices get their information from satellites orbiting the Earth. Okay, and then this, by the way, and then this system right here is very dated. This is from maybe 15, 20 years ago. And now we have it on our phones. So our phones, people type the address on their phone and boom, the phone will tell you where to go. Okay, but again, this is achievements of the Renaissance. Now click on the right arrow so we can get to page 2, and then again, the huge zoom, very big, huge. Okay. All right. So again, human anatomy. We mentioned the advances and the drawings of Leonardo da Vinci. Okay. So as this drawing by da Vinci shows, Renaissance scholars attempted to learn more about how the human body worked. Among their discoveries was that the heart pumps blood throughout the body. Originally, what was thought was that it was the kidneys. Believe it or not, they thought it was the kidneys. Now, sure, the kidneys play a very important role in the body, but it wasn't the kidneys that pumped. It was discovered then, during the Renaissance time period, that it was the heart. And for our present time, doctors use magnetic resonance imaging, the MRI, to get a detailed look inside the body. MRIs use magnetic fields to create 2 dimensions and 3-dimensional images of body tissue. Okay, so let's take a look then at this video about how an MRI works. Then we will get back with the rest of today's information in a few moments.
Device commonly used to examine the soft tissues of the human.
Okay, now back from the video.
Let's meet the machine.
Okay, no, let's not.
The key components are.
Thank you. Okay, so last thing is engineering. Here is an image of the design by Leonardo da Vinci. Imagine in the late 1400s, da Vinci is drawing this, similar to what we would see in a helicopter. So in the past, da Vinci designed plans for many inventions, including flying machines. This drawing by da Vinci was based on his understanding of various scientific principles. In the present, then, da Vinci's design is recognized as an ancestor of the modern helicopter. Okay, so there it is. The modern helicopter based on the drawing and designs of Leonardo da Vinci during the time of the Renaissance. Right now, let's take a look then at our modern day assignment for today. Okay, now getting to our Jamboard assignment for today. So very simply, this is a main idea, web, and you're going to describe 3 advances during the Renaissance and how it affected Western society. Okay, so we talked about more than 3 in this particular lesson today. You're just going to describe 3 of them. Use either the sticky note or the text box, okay, to describe 3 advances. So let's talk about one of them, could be the MRI, and list how it affected Western society. Okay? And then once you're done with that, you're going to get back to in your stream the Quizlet Who Did It. Okay, the Quizlet vocabulary Who Did It. Okay, you're going to get to that. We're going to have, of course, we're going to have a quiz on this section next week. So make sure you go over the Renaissance. Who did it? The artist, the work of art, and of course the picture that helps you remember what work of art that was. So again, after you finish your Jamboard assignment, you're going to go to the Quizlet vocabulary.